Hello, and thank you for joining us this Saturday evening. I'm Sarah Horbacewicz, and meteorologist Corrales Ortiz joins me here. We're watching storms come across the state. Now, Corrales, what do people need to know as we see the lightning outside, hear the thunder?
Yeah, so we're starting to see some of those storms roll in here in the metro area, but we've been tracking them since the last couple of hours across parts of the state. Here's a live look at the radar right now. I'm going to be driving this for you guys so we have a better idea of what's going on. We do have a cluster of storms to our south and west. So we have counties under a severe thunderstorm warning until 11:30 and 11 o'clock. That includes counties like Nevada, Clark, Dallas, parts of Washita, even parts of Grant County as well. Plenty of lightning with these storms. Matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and go check over our hail identifier so we can kind of see the hail. Not as impressive as it was before. We did have reports of hail up to even golf ball size with some of these storms. We do have some severe thunderstorm warnings for parts of Pulaski County, parts of even Conway County as well, and we also have parts of Faulkner County, I should say, and just to our north and east as well. So we are going to be seeing these storms still kind of linger through the rest of our evening. We are under a severe thunderstorm watch until 2 o'clock. And then we'll kind of start to see improvements into the rest of the night. But yeah, I'll continue to track these storms for you guys with another full look at your forecast coming up in minutes.
Tonight, police in Pine Bluff are still searching for 3 suspects of a double homicide from earlier this week. 20-year-old Kenon Smith, 18-year-old Quentin Lowe, and 17-year-old Deshaun Cobbs Jr. are accused of shooting 3 people sitting in a car on West 34th Street late Tuesday night. 2 of the victims died at the scene. 1 made it to the hospital. A short time later, police arrested 21-year-old Kayvon Bledsoe in connection to the deadly shooting. If you see the other 3 suspects or know where they are, call police. Tonight, a family reunited. The Pulaski County Sheriff's Office says they found Arkansan Harley McCourt after he disappeared back in October of 2021. They say he was found in Galveston, Texas, safe and unharmed. The struggle continues this evening between Summit Utilities and their customers over high bills. A restraining order now has been filed against the company. It comes just a week after a customer filed a class action lawsuit against Summit for alleged overbilling. The plaintiff now wants a judge to approve that restraining order, which would allow them and other customers to hold off on paying their gas bill or let the company disconnect their service until the lawsuit is settled. Now, it's hard to believe, but 3 years ago today, then Governor Asa Hutchinson announced Arkansas's first hospitalized COVID patient in Pine Bluff. For months, all eyes were on Jefferson Regional as other healthcare workers took note on how staff handled the virus. Tonight, THV 11's Frederick Price is taking a look back to show how much they've learned.
Yeah, and things look a lot different. A lot of the restrictions this hospital had for staff and visitors back then, they no longer have. Though the healthcare professional I talked with today says she's learned a lot in the past 3 years.
We've come a long way in 3 years. Those first few days, even those first few months were pretty scary.
March 11th, 2020 is a day Aaron Bolton will never forget.
And my personal cell phone went off and I looked down to see a Little Rock number that I didn't recognize.
It was the health department alerting her the first COVID patient in Arkansas was inside Jefferson Regional.
I just don't think we ever thought we would be the first. We thought it would probably be, at one of the bigger hospitals in Little Rock, and then we could learn from them.
She is among the many hospital leaders who were tasked with quickly readjusting their normal workflow. The following hours, days, and even months would be some of the most difficult.
Everyone that came in had to take their temperature. We asked them questions about any symptoms they might having. We shut down visitation for a while immediately.
As time passed by, the number of daily COVID infections declined, mask mandates were dropped statewide, and people learned to live with this vicious virus.
Now, over the last 3 years, we're back to a more normal visitation schedule. Within just the last few weeks, we've dropped our mask regulation.
Although this pandemic continues to weigh heavy on everyone, Aaron says the hospital turned those challenges into lessons. Their biggest one, communication.
In the beginning, we thought we were communicating the best we could, but then we realized what we communicated today might not have reached the staff that arrived tomorrow or the next shift.
And for her, as a nurse and even more so as a human, she's learned a lot too.
Patience, gratitude, I try very hard to find something grateful to be grateful for each and every day.
In Pine Bluff, Frederick Price, THV 11 News.
All right, thank you, Frederick. We continue to learn more every day. New research shows the Omicron variant of the coronavirus is much less likely to lead to long COVID than the strain that circulated at the beginning of the pandemic. A new study found that healthcare workers infected with the original strain were up to 67% more likely to experience long COVID than those who had never been infected. But healthcare workers infected with Omicron did not have the same increase. The FDA is updating its mammogram standards to help better prevent, detect, and treat cancer. Under the new rules, providers will be required to notify women if they have dense breast tissue. About half of all women over the age of 40 have dense breasts, which can make it harder to detect breast cancer. In our Buddy Check 11 health story this month, you'll want to mark your calendar for an event where all are invited. Karen Fuller explains.
It is so exciting. There is just enthusiasm in the air.
There are many reasons why Keenan Keys hopes to see even more thousands of Arkansans at the Be a Part of the Cure Walk in May. Here's a look at last year's event that drew at least 1,000 people, raising more than $242,000 for cancer research in our state. Now, in its third year, the walk is held on the grounds of War Memorial Stadium. Keys says she's proud to wear a blue T-shirt, an honor reserved for people who have survived a fight against cancer. As part of the volunteer team behind the walk, Keys says there's nothing like the sense of camaraderie and support.
Just energetic is all I can say. Everybody is just happy to be here, and to know that what they're doing is raising money for their cancer, not just breast cancer, not just this, their cancer.
A retired middle school math teacher, Keys spends much of her free time giving back to her community. Her work with the UAMS Winthrop P. Rockefeller Cancer Institute and the annual walk came after a routine mammogram in 2020 led to an early diagnosis of breast cancer. Keys says everyone is welcome at the walk since cancer can happen to anyone.
Everybody. There's probably not one single person in the entire, I'm going to say entire world, but who is not touched by cancer somehow, because cancer is so prevalent.
That was Karen Fuller reporting. And again, the date for that walk is May 6th at War Memorial Stadium. Registration opens at 6:30 and the fun begins at 7. And all those proceeds go to research right here in our state. Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders traveled to Sherwood Friday to recognize Fort Thompson Sporting Goods, the first ever Arkansas Business of the Month. The new initiative, created by the governor and the Secretary of Commerce, aims to spotlight one of the thousands of small businesses across the state. And a new report shows the U.S. job market remains strong, but the positive news could actually lead to higher interest rates. Earlier this week, Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell told Congress that the board will continue to raise the cost of borrowing. The Fed's strategy is having an effect on certain aspects of the economy, including businesses that lend money. Bank stocks are taking a hit on Wall Street, especially those that offer loans to tech companies, an industry in the middle of massive layoffs. One of those banks, Silicon Valley Bank, California Governor Gavin Newsom says he's in contact with the White House and Treasury Department after this week's failure of the bank. SVB's website says nearly half of the U.S. technology and healthcare companies that went public last year after getting early funding from venture capital firms were its customers. Christian Benavides has more from Miami.
This week's rush to pull money out of Silicon Valley Bank sparked the largest failure of a U.S. institution since the 2007 financial crisis. California and federal regulators seized the nation's 16th largest bank's assets, transferring them to a newly created institution. It's expected to start paying out insured deposits on Monday. The plan is to sell off the rest of the assets to make payouts to other depositors.
We're relying on SVB as our bank to move money on behalf of our payroll company into the accounts of our employees. The key question is are those funds going to move as planned on Monday morning? That's uncertain.
California Congressman Eric Swalwell issued a statement saying he's heard from, quote, scores of constituents who have not received their paychecks because of this crisis, putting their mortgages and financial security at risk. Working to reassure Americans, Biden administration officials said Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen is watching the situation closely.
Our banking system is in a fundamentally different place than it was, a decade ago. And that the reforms that were put into place back then really provide the kind of resilience that we'd like to see.
In addition to startup businesses, established companies like Shopify, Pinterest, Etsy, and Roku are feeling the impact. In a filing Friday, Roku said about a quarter of its cash, nearly $500 million, was deposited at Silicon Valley Bank, adding it was largely uninsured. Cristian Benavides, CBS News.